Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, directed by Henry Selick, is one of my favorite films of all time. I've loved the film for as long as I can remember, and having seen it so many times now, I've begun to look at it more analytically in recent viewings. Whether it be listening for the innumerable motifs in Danny Elfman's incredible score, or paying closer attention to the execution of the stop-motion animation, something new stands out to me every time I watch the film. Because of this, my love for and enjoyment of the film continue to grow, as well as my respect for and admiration of the filmmakers. Now, one aspect of the film that I've noticed only recently is how the editing establishes the relationship between Jack and Sally. It achieves this through the use of cross-cutting, as well as the setting of certain events throughout the film. The first example of this is found in Jack's lament. In the scene, Jack sings about his tiring of Halloween, growing emptiness, and longing for something new. Now, while the song is a solo, Jack is not alone in the scene. Of course, he has his best friend Zero alongside him, but this outpouring of emotion is also witnessed by Sally, watching from behind headstones in the cemetery. Now, the edit follows Jack for the most part, as it is primarily his moment, but the scene also cuts to Sally 8 different times. And the cuts are so unnatural as they disrupt the flow of the scene, but what this does is draw attention to her presence, continually reminding the viewer that she's there as well. The scene even ends on her, which is notable when viewed as an answer following a question.
Jack, I know how you feel.
While Christmastown is the first thing Jack encounters following the song, Sally is the first thing the viewer is shown, cluing them in on their potential relationship. Now, another example of the editing connecting the two comes when Jack stops by Dr. Finkelstein's lab. As he enters and is greeted by Sally's maker, the scene cuts to Sally to show her excitement at the mere mention of his name.
Jack Skellington! Up here, my boy!
And once again, the scene ends with Sally so that the film is telling both of their stories simultaneously. To show why this works, I cut the scene together without the shots of Sally.
Hello?
Jack Skellington!
Doctor! I need to borrow some equipment.
Is that so? Whatever for?
I'm conducting a series of experiments.
Perfectly marvelous. Curiosity killed the cat, you know.
I know.
Come on into the lab and we'll get you all fixed up.
Now, the scene still works on the most basic level, but it's substantially less powerful than how it's presented in the final cut, and Sally's story is then weakened. The setting also plays a part in the story of these two, as they are connected by where they are and when across the film. Take, for example, the band playing on the street just outside the cemetery gates. Both Jack and Sally pass by the same band at the start of each of their songs. Attention is drawn to this through dialogue in Jack's scene.
Nice work, Bone Daddy.
Yeah, I guess so. Just like
And a couple
last
moments of cutting back to the band during Sally's scene.
The worst is just around the bend.
Now, the band is the accompaniment to Sally's song, but I believe cutting back to them also establishes her setting, just as cutting back to her during Jack's lament established her presence. It's also key that they both walk through the gates of the cemetery in their respective scenes, as it connects them personally, showing perhaps a place of escape the two have in common. The film also knows when not to cut between the two and rather establish an absence in some scenes. Take Jack's obsession, for example. The scene just before it shows Sally receiving a vision of Christmas in flames, followed by her waking up the next morning outside of Jack's tower. But during the actual scene, this moment of obsession, as the song is appropriately titled, Jack is the only character on screen. Sally is not cut back to as she was during Jack's lament. This is purposefully done in an attempt for the viewer to forget about Sally, just as Jack has in this moment when all that matters to him is Christmas.
Christmas time is buzzing in my skull. Will it let me be? I cannot tell.
On the opposite side of this relationship, Sally's song features herself and the band, but no Jack. Now, in terms of the story, this is after he has already embarked on his journey of bringing Christmas to the world. But the film still chooses not to show him at all during Sally's song to emphasize his absence in her life, as she so sings about. Although unbeknownst to Jack until the end, what they seek is each other, but the editing here does a brilliant job in keeping them apart, setting up a much anticipated and well-deserved ending to their story, or rather beginning of their relationship. Back to the idea of the setting connecting the two, the film ends on a duet between Jack and Sally set atop the same hill where Jack first sang about his emptiness and longing for something unknown. This shows that in the end it wasn't Christmas that would fill that void, but rather a partner, someone who understands him, someone who loves him. Sally.
We're simply meant